brick and mortar system which has been there of education also involves some ability to be able to share knowledge faster and not necessarily during school times or educational times. So I think the new platforms which have emerged, particularly from Microsoft, and the cooperation between Microsoft and Higher Education Commission of Pakistan is something which was needed. But COVID-19 brought the importance of all these online education systems to the fore. I believe the Microsoft Teams is a good program. Minecraft for education, which educates more in collaborative learning through game-based learning platforms. Microsoft Azure, of course, the cloud computing platform, and Imagine Academy. These are some of the programs which are of very good use. I think for countries like Pakistan, actually the knowledge is available in the cloud throughout the world today, and the access of an individual, access of a student to knowledge platforms at home, and the ability to exchange knowledge faster compared to the teachers going out abroad to higher education and then bringing the format down to the students. It is easier that the students can be directed towards the availability of knowledge in the clouds and make it easier for knowledge to be accessed by people. So I must congratulate Microsoft for leading this initiative, and I must congratulate the Higher Education Commission for teaming up with Microsoft to do this. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Harb Harb. I'm the Education Director for Microsoft in Middle East and Africa. It's my pleasure to welcome you to the Edu Days annual event. The health emergency, which has changed the habits of many families around the globe, has made digital technology a fundamental tool for everyone not to stop and not to fall behind. Throughout last year, we have witnessed a revolution that has also changed the experience of teachers and students in a very short time, who have had to rethink their approach to teaching and learning and apply their skills in a completely new scenario. It's in this context that Edu Day 2021 is taking place. We are very grateful and proud of the way institutions in Pakistan have stepped up to the challenges of putting education online for educators and students using the Microsoft Remote and Blended Learning platform. The rollout of Microsoft Teams across the education sector in Pakistan has very much enabled changes. With the COVID-19 challenge, Microsoft Teams helped the institutions to adapt to the new technology at hand and deliver strategies, resources, and solutions to quickly create online classroom that helps students, teachers, and faculty find new ways to connect and learn. Pakistan is a country blessed with natural resources, but it's the youth of this country that are its greatest asset. Providing education and training to students will require out-of-the-box thinking, along with a heavy reliance on ICT. Microsoft has been working aggressively on making technology available and affordable for students and educators across the globe. With more than 200 million education users across the world using Microsoft tools and technology to achieve their learning objectives. In the higher education space, HEC and Microsoft have been working together to bring technology offerings to the students and teachers for more than 10 years. The flagship strategic project covers 200 plus universities across the country and offers students access to the technology, skills, development, and other digital interventions to empower their education journey. Microsoft teams and partners in Pakistan are fully dedicated to serve our customers across the three cloud platforms, Microsoft 365, Microsoft Azure, and Microsoft Dynamics 365. There has been a great focus in country for education initiatives and projects around industry certification, blended learning, automation via ERP, student lifecycle, cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, and cloud hosting services, just to name a few of many others. From student engagement perspective, Imagine Cup Junior, Microsoft Learn, and Student Ambassador Program are empowering students to achieve more. More than 1,300 MIE experts from Pakistan have made to the Microsoft Worldwide Educator community, which indeed is a great landmark and shows our potential as a country. We have some great programs and engagement for teachers, and I encourage all teachers to explore this community. We are fortunate to have the support of great cadre of sponsors like Higher Education Commission, Government of Sindh, Punjab Group of Colleges, the City School, Roots Millennium, Roots International, and to all educators and learners across the country. I sincerely hope you will enjoy the Edu Days and thank you for your participation.
Hello, dear colleagues. This is Fazia Khan. I'm Chief Advisor, Curriculum Wing and Additional Secretary, Academic and Training Wing, School Education and Literacy Department, Government of Sindh. So in this session, I'll be briefly sharing the progress on Microsoft Education program, and specifically from the School Education and Literacy Department perspective. So Microsoft Education program helped SELD in continuation of teaching and learning practices during COVID-19. So a great transformation has been witnessed throughout the year. SELD team has pulled something amazing out of what some might have once thought impossible. And Microsoft Teams, OneDrive, SharePoint, OneNote, and Minecraft for Education radically reconfigure the way students learn and interact with their classmates. They enable a more inclusive approach to creative expression that simply might not be possible in the absence of these technologies. Um, Dear colleagues, the vision of SELD is for all members of the community to excel as caring, confident, capable, and resilient lifelong learners who contributes to a democratic and sustainable world. This is not a task SELD takes lightly, especially when it comes to those students who struggle with cognitive or more disabilities that makes traditional approaches to learn more challenging. Meeting the needs of this population, helping students thrive as learners so they can in turn help their communities flourish, requires more effort, attention, and innovation. So, SELD turned to Microsoft Learning Tools. Over 26,000 faculty and around 687,000 students account on Office 365 were amicably created to ensure that seamless knowledge transfer would make place and students are able to study, interact, submit their assignments and quizzes and tested online. It was not an easy task. Like we all know that in Pakistan we do have the accessibility and a lot of connectivity issues. So it was not an easy task, but I appreciate both SELD and Microsoft teams who ensured the successful execution. The rollout of Microsoft Teams across SELD has very significantly enabled these changes, bringing together face to face connections, assignments, and conversations in a single hub that's free for all the public schools in the province. So far, total number of teachers, like this is with reference to the Microsoft contribution, and as SELD is working internally with some other partners as well. So in total, we have trained around more than 30,000 teachers and around 257,000 students benefited from this initiative. So it is noteworthy to mention here that SELD in collaboration with Microsoft has also successfully developed a SELD Hub app which provides all educators access of all organizational digital resources. Does Microsoft tools, social media platforms, lectures, and videos are now available on a single platform of Microsoft Teams, creating accessible education for all must be a key priority. Accessibility has always been core to our approach, and this includes new experiences. Now, more than ever, educators and school leaders need secure digital tools that help them connect and collaborate with the faculty, students, and the parents as well. So in near future CLDs, we are also planning to side by side empower our teachers in skill based learning, and this is one of the basic reasons that Microsoft, in collaboration with SCLD, is planning to scale up and plan teacher training program, and we'll be launching it very soon. So, in the light of the fruitful responsive data on the initiative and to continue the digital learning process, CLD has also notified a high level implementation and monitoring committee. And of course, our colleague from Microsoft is also part of that committee. So, in the end, once again, I would like to extend my sincerest gratitude to the Microsoft and to the SCLD teams who have really supported us in these hard times. So, once again, thank you all. God bless you.
Bismillah ar-Rahman Rahim. My name is Ali Salman. I am the chairperson of TEFTA Punjab, which is the largest skill provider of Pakistan, with 403 institutes across Punjab, the largest province in Pakistan, in every district and almost every tehsil. Um, our access basically to skill education has been 90,000 in the previous 10 years, but in the previous 1 year since I've become the chairperson, we've raised it from 90,000 to 250,000. So you can imagine how big an impact it has on the skill sector of this country. What we've been doing for the past 1.5 year, almost 1.5 years since I've taken over as the chairperson, is that we're in the process of transforming the skill sector of Punjab and primarily TEFTA Punjab, because this is the premier agency for the government of Punjab. So what we did was basically when I came in September, that we did a gap analysis of the debit sector in Pakistan. What are the gaps that we have in basically relation to the curriculum? It was a conventional curriculum, the compliant labs, and all the problems that we have faced in the past. And after doing that gap analysis, we basically sought 10 interventions according to which we can take our skill sector to the international standards. And while doing that, we came up with a new vision for TEFTA, which is now focusing on to empowering our students on quality demand driven skills, and to basically develop economic opportunities for them at the entrepreneurial level, at the local and the international level. So looking at that basically vision, we basically to realize that vision, we've come up with 5 principles, which are access to skill education, one, two, quality assurance, three, demand driven skills, number four, economic opportunities, and number five is innovation. Now, when it comes to access, like I just said, in our 403 institutes, we had 90,000 students, but two initiatives that we took to actually give more access to the massive youth population in Pakistan was to initiate the Chief Minister's Hunarmand Naujawan project, whereby 110,000 more students, boys and girls, were basically given free of cost trainings in 37 disciplines which were market driven with the industry, and those basically courses started in December 2019. However, due to corona, all the institutes in the whole world was shut down. So that's when we realized that we need to go online, we need to go for the e-learning division, which we did. By April 2019, we started with e-commerce expert courses, and by I think in the next 6 to 7 months till now, we've raised that to 50,000 students online in courses like e-commerce specialist, artificial intelligence, robotics, data sciences, and similar courses, e-Rozgar. And that has been a game changer for us, because we've realized the huge demand for these courses. Like before, when our students were 90,000, at that time, applications for our students used to be not more than 92, 95,000 for 90,000 seats. But for these 50,000 seats, we received applications over 150,000, just giving us the focus of the importance of this basically field, that these are actually demand driven courses. The second basically focus of ours has been on quality. Now, you may have I mean, access to like 50 or even 500,000, but it doesn't really matter till the time you actually don't have that quality skilled labor. So for that, what we did, what we basically converted onto the competency based training and assessment skill methodology introduced to Pakistan by the National Vocational NAVTEC, and with the TEVIT SSP and GIZ. And through that, basically, what we're doing is we're converting all our courses onto CBTA, which is internationally recognized in 120 countries of the world. So that has been a game changer. Till now, we've converted 83 of our institutes on 37 different courses on CBTA. And with the support of the donor agencies, now we're going for across all our 403 institutes for a $200 million loan, which we're working with one of the top international financial institutions. And by March 2023, we will have, inshallah, all our courses on CBTA. So our students basically will be able to go to top industry internationally as well, and start their entrepreneurship as well, because their certification is going to be like in general education you have O and A levels. In the technical and vocational sphere you have CBTA, which is the competency based training and assessment skill methodology. At the same time, we were focusing on how to basically uh, drive the industry basically towards us, and make them realize how important this TEFTA is for them, because it was made to actually facilitate the industry. But in the previous 20 years since TEFTA has been there was a major disconnect. So for that, basically, our third initiative has been to focus on the demand-driven skills, and for that we have three initiatives. The first being sector skill councils, whereby now we have identified 20 sectors of the economy in which we used to do 150 plus courses, from textile to construction to leather to all the major basically sectors of our economy. And what we've started doing is to, through our act, empowering that industry through a sector skill council, whereby their associations, technical people, and our academia are collaborating. And we've empowered them to basically look at our courses, to look at our equipment, machinery, to look at our infrastructure and our assessments on CBTA, and basically tell us that we will train them according to the industry specification, and in return, they're going to give us jobs. And that has been a very successful model so far. We've made a sector skill council in Faisalabad for the textile and garment industry, for the printing and graphic association of Pakistan, for our basically institutes, and similar other basically initiatives are also being taking place. But one area which I would consider, when I leave TEFTA, would be my legacy, is the work on future skills that we started off in Corona times through e-learning, and that is where like the demand for artificial intelligence, robotics, cyber security, and likewise these type of IT courses gained strength in TEFTA. And that is where basically I realized that this is the future of this country, and we really need to focus on that. So the Sector Skill Council for Artificial Intelligence and Future Skills is very important to us. And we have Pakistanis from abroad, from the Silicon Valley, where we have Dell now, people part of us. We've got Able Tech from international company in Australia and Dubai, who are helping us. And through that, basically, we're going for an innovation hub so that our students can basically start startups and really help our economy themselves as well. And then the fourth principle is economic opportunities. Before I came, basically TEFTA was just a skill giver and not focusing on the real part, which is the end part, that you give them a skill and then you make opportunities for them for at the local industry, internationally, and entrepreneurship. So for that, we made a career development unit, and through that, basically, we are now empowering our students through 403 job placement and career counseling units, and attaching them with the industry and through partnerships and collaborations. So far, we have over 90 MOUs with the industry, with the top industry, whereby we train according to their specification, and in return they come over, interview our students, and give them opportunity jobs basically. And finally, innovation. um, Innovation was something very important, like I said, about the courses that we started. um, we realized that TEFTA really now has to basically take lead. We have 250,000 students, and everywhere in Punjab, from the rural areas to the cities, this is the place where we can actually get students from across Punjab, and that opens up a huge potential for Pakistan to be exported abroad. So that is where we started focusing, and like I said about the courses that we did, at the same time we started focusing on the entrepreneurship program with LUMS. We collaborated and went into a startup competition, and we were shocked. We actually, came first. We defeated one of the top universities in Pakistan. Just telling you the talent that is in Pakistan. Just recently, after doing a artificial intelligence course, our students from Rahim Yar Khan basically have made a robot, and that robot basically screens persons for so many other things, for security as well. And now in our innovation hub, we're basically working with our students on drones. In fact, we're also making the Pakistan's first electric car at TEFTA in collaboration with DICE International, an organization of Pakistani engineers abroad who've come down to TEFTA, partnered with us. And so you can imagine that, like from conventional, mode of learning and conventional sectors, we're now, like going towards future skills. And for that, what we are now basically, our milestone, or the major landmark project that we're basically focusing on, is the Pakistan's first skill technology park, and that is being made in Lahore, the heart of Lahore, where my head office is. It's a 200 canal area, and we've collaborated with the Special Technology Zone Authority of Pakistan, just made by the Prime Minister, and we're going to get it declared as a special technology zone. And this skill technology park will not only house all the skill development authorities of Pakistan, so that all the policy making is in line with what we're doing with the skill ecosystem that I've just told you, but also basically will be a center of excellence for future skills, including artificial intelligence, robotics, data sciences, and the like. And it'll be we will have incubation centers. We're going to have venture capitalists coming in. It's a technology zone, so basically 10-year duty free. So you can imagine that international players who are connecting with us, international companies, uh, they're coming, and they want to be a part of this, because this is going to be the hub for the next basically future skills, inshallah. And I would like to thank Microsoft for being a partner of TEFTA, for helping us out in these times. For the past 3 years, we've had a relationship with you, whereby we have actually trained over 25,000 students on Microsoft specialist MOS courses. Then we had IT academies in TEFTA, 100 of them. And now in our second phase, basically, we have 39 IT academies, and we're going to train 5,000 more students. But when we started off, this was all fine. But now, where TEFTA has gone in the previous 1.5 year, we're now focusing on artificial intelligence in all these courses, and that is where I would like to partner up with Microsoft, because this is the future. And I just said that, like the Skill Technology Park is coming up. Its groundbreaking is happening end of next March by the Prime Minister of Pakistan, inshallah. And it will be up and running by September 2022, or Jan 2023. So that is the cutoff date. So you can imagine how fast we're moving towards that. So I would like to thank Microsoft once again, and assure you of our support to you, and would require your support as well in our new scale technology zone. Thank you so much.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jay Richards Hill, and I work for Microsoft's Middle East and Africa headquarters education team. Thanks for attending our Edu Day in Pakistan. Looking forward to talking to you more now about our K-12 education transformation framework. A bit of background to this, we know that the world is constantly changing and technology is rapidly advancing. And of course, with the COVID-19 pandemic, we've seen so much change, possibly 3 years advancement in maybe 3 or 4 months. So we know the world is constantly changing, and this is a big challenge for education to keep up with this change. We know all about the fourth industrial revolution and the shift to cloud technologies and the huge difference it's making to our everyday lives all around the world, wherever we live. And in fact, young people growing up now and going through the school system really don't feel that they should be able to draw any distinction between the physical world and the digital world. So the digital world they inhabit on their devices should key in well to the physical world that they live in. And again, this is a challenge for education. How do we manage this process? How do we meet the expectations of this phygital generation? And more so because the future looks very different for our students. All of these recent advances in technology, artificial intelligence, the use of data, really are driving up expectations from employers as to what they think young people should be coming out of school with. And if we look at this slide here, I think much of this stands out to us as pretty dramatic and indicative of the change that we've all experienced when new IT jobs are going to require skills of young people. 65% of students in school will go into jobs that haven't yet been invented. And 47% of current jobs, perhaps more importantly, are expected to be taken over by machines during the next 2 decades. And 77% of jobs, when these young people come out of school, will require some sort of technology skill. And if we're working in school as school leaders, these are some of the top objectives that we have. So yes, we know in education we need to think about driving learning outcomes and managing student behavior issues, and improving performance of the teachers in the schools, as well as looking at curriculum, engaging all of our stakeholders and keeping our students safe. And these top objectives don't really change from year to year, but the challenges that school leaders do change. And technology plays a big part in driving that change. Many school leaders report a lack of tech readiness in their schools. They don't have the structure and the resources to train and coach people to support adoption of technology. Parents are not bought in on this tech vision, and there are insufficient resources all round to support the vision and the roadmap that you need when you're talking about tech in education. And COVID has really taught us a lot about the readiness of education systems around the world to cope with an environment where we have to teach online, or at the very best, a hybrid model of learning where some teaching is done face to face, but the majority moves online. We know that the digital divide has become more and more pronounced and more noticeable as we try to figure out how we can keep our students engaged with learning, even though our schools are closed. Changing the curriculum is necessary because you can't just take everything that you do in the classroom and move it online. It's a completely different pedagogical approach. And empowering teachers with the tech skills they need to work this technology, but also the deep education experience and skills that they need to redesign lesson delivery. So we've learned a lot through the COVID crisis, and it would be good if we would build upon that moving forward. That knowledge is vital in helping us to change and disrupt the education system as it is now. And of course, social and emotional skills are so important now as we are disconnected from our everyday personal learning networks. We don't have face-to-face interactions with all of those people in our support networks that we're used to. And so how do we keep young people motivated? How do we keep them engaged? How do we keep them working together in teams? How do we get them to critique each other? These social and emotional skills now are really coming to the fore as we move online with learning and teaching or in hybrid approaches, and the face-to-face environment isn't something that we can take for granted. Microsoft produced a paper called The Class of 2030, which you can search for and download, or follow the link on this slide when we share the presentation with you. And some of the statistics that we found in that paper are quite dramatic. Technology does create opportunity, and it can free up more than 30% of your classroom time if technology is deployed appropriately and used well to support great learning and teaching. Personalized learning is in high demand, and technology can help to drive those individual learning journeys within a single class. 70% of students say the current pace of learning isn't right, so that means it's too fast for some and not fast enough for others. And with regard to these social and emotional skills, 30 to 40% of jobs in growth industries in the future are going to require these skills. So how, in an ever-changing world, in a world affected by COVID, where a pandemic has forced education to rethink the way it's delivered in a hybrid environment where much of it is online, how do school leaders and teachers make sense of all of the changes? And more importantly, how do they manage these changes within their schools? Now, Microsoft has what we call our Education Transformation Framework. And this has been around now for 6 or 7 years, and it changes in response to changes in the education environment. It's made up of the best practice we see around the world, academic research, commentary from students, from teachers, from all stakeholders in the system. And it's a responsive framework that can give you a lens to look through at your current education system or school and try to figure how you can manage the changes that are necessary. So our transformation framework is built on 4 key pillars. And these are the main areas of change that we see as Microsoft in education. And each of these 4 key pillars is subdivided into 4 sections. And these would be what we would call the 16 critical components of education transformation in schools and school systems around the world. And we've had to change this because of the lessons we've learned through COVID. So in our leadership and policy, we've had to make much more around change management as we shift from face-to-face to online, and the pressure that puts upon teachers to change. In our student and school success pillar, we've had to look very much around future-ready skills and social and emotional learning. And in our intelligent environments pillar, of course, the hybrid learning environment is something that we've had to put a lot of thinking into in order that the framework continues to be relevant and support schools and system leaders around the world. So our education transformation framework, to sum up, as I said, is built on a holistic end-to-end approach. We look at these 16 critical components, and if you put them together right, they make up the perfect picture of a jigsaw. We look at global best practice and use this to inform the changes that we make from time to time in our framework. And of course, it's grounded in academic research around what works and what doesn't work in education. Now, one way of looking at this, of course, is with the education language that you see on the screen. So the 4 pillars and the 16 components have their education description that we as educators and leaders will relate to. But perhaps another way of looking at the framework is this. If we change from this language to this language, so leadership and policy are why we do things, and of course teaching and learning is what we do. The intelligent environment section would be where we do this, but school success is how we make this change happen, and what is it that drives successfully the change that we're looking to make. So the first three parts of the framework are about the opportunity for change. They are a diagnostic process. So the why, what, and where, leadership policy, learning and teaching, intelligent environments, is all about using the framework to examine what you're doing and try to identify or diagnose where the opportunities for change will be. And of course, the value proposition, the technology piece, is in the student and school success. So in this part of the framework, we think about how we manage identity, tools and deployment, administration, security, roles and responsibilities, the structure of your Office 365 tenant, and of course, managing the devices that you have in your school. So if we look at that as a whole, what we see here is to the left of the screen, we have the diagnosis. We have using the framework to spot opportunities for change and development and digital transformation in what we do. And on the right of the screen, the school success is how we do this. The alignment between the diagnosis and the action is where Microsoft works with you using this education transformation framework to support your journey towards digital transformation in your school. So our goal for our transformation framework is this. It builds our credibility as education advisors to you, our customers. It also develops a strong partnership between us, which we can develop as the months and the years go by, and using Microsoft's extensive knowledge and network of education and partners. And of course, it helps you to drive usage so that the services and the tools and the platforms that you've deployed give you the biggest return on that investment. It's about driving adoption and consumption. So this would be the goal of our education transformation framework. I'm just going to cover one or two little areas now because it's important to think about some of the framework. I won't go through each of the pillars, but I want to call out that when we work with you around the first part of the framework, leadership and policy, we talk a lot in this about planning, about change management, about how we measure continuous improvement, and above all, how you as an education institution can form partnerships with your stakeholder community and partners who can help you deploy the new services, platforms and products and this technology. And a part of this process is a workshop. So the education transformation framework can start with an engagement like a workshop, which helps you to map out and spot all of these opportunities for change. It's built very much around coming up with a vision for change and then how you build a roadmap to implement that vision. And this really sums up our transformation process. So with the framework in the middle, the stages of transformation around the outside. So the first thing we work with you to do is envision what you feel you'd like and what your priorities are. We'd help you to assess your needs, to build a solution, design the implementation, and to monitor and evaluate whether you're achieving success with this new technology. The website that's marked on the screen, edujourney.microsoft.com, contains all of our education transformation framework resources, and this would be where you would go to find much of this material. And also here in edujourney.microsoft.com is our Microsoft Education Assessment Transformation tool. So once you go into this EduJourney website, navigate your way through by following the K to 12 pathway, and eventually you'll arrive at the customer assessment tool. This is now called the Education Transformation Assessment tool. And what it does is asks you a series of questions based on the transformation framework. It asks you to identify your current state, and then it asks you to identify your desired state based on a number of questions built around the 16 components of our transformation framework. And this produces an output which can help you to understand the type of technology that you need to deploy in order to make the journey from where you currently are to where you've decided your ambition is. This customer assessment tool is at the heart of everything we do in our transformation framework. So you can see here the report that's generated maps out what your journey to your target state will look like and provides guidance on the products that map to those capabilities. So this is an end-to-end transformation tool that allows you to determine and own the transformation journey in your institution. When you work with us at Microsoft, when we've come through all of this process and we've used this transformation tool and come up with a proposal, which is your deployment roadmap, then we would put in place an education transformation agreement. And this really sums up the partnership between you as an institution and Microsoft. It sets out how we will support you and what your responsibilities are to us when you're deploying our technology. So this would be a typical journey that we would support you with around deployment of any type of technology. It starts with that all-important identity management, access to the systems and devices, and builds in confidentiality and security for all users when they access the learning platform, Office 365. We can support with advice using the framework around which are the appropriate devices to use in education, and we can help you to get to learn how the analytical tools that are built into Office 365 can give you insights into how the technology is being used by your learners and your teachers. And of course, we can work with you on a skills plan to make sure that everybody has the right skills that they need in your organization to be able to run effectively the technology that's put in place. So here are some resources and links to help you. Our website is our edujourney.microsoft.com site that I showed you before with the transformation assessment tool. We have lots of case studies so that you can see how Microsoft has worked with education institutions around the world and driven success through good use of technology. And as I've said, the transformation assessment tool is in the Microsoft, the EduJourney site, and you can go straight to that assessment by using the link in this slide. And finally, some more resources, including links to those white papers, the class of 2030, but also leading the class of 2030 and the staff of 2030. So a whole series of white papers and the thought leadership pieces here that can help you understand more deeply how we put the transformation framework together and how it's able to help you. I hope you've enjoyed this whistle-stop tour of our education transformation framework. Please follow the links, explore them, work your way through the edujourney.microsoft.com website and discover all of the resources that Microsoft is making available to support you in your journey to excellence in your school. Thank you very much for listening, for attending our Edu Day in Pakistan, and we look forward to working more closely with you. Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Yves Khalil. I'm the higher education industry lead for Microsoft, covering Middle East and Africa. I've been with the company for more than 17 years. Been working very closely with education institutions for over 15 years in this part of the world. Obviously had a lot of connections with academic institutions being from K to 12 to higher education in Pakistan. And I would like to thank you all today for attending my session and giving me the opportunity to share my thoughts and experience around how we can together develop students' future-ready skills from school to university all the way to the job market, and how effectively Microsoft can help you and your institutions create future-ready skills program for your students across their different age groups. The landscape of work has obviously changed. I'm quite confident the past 12 months had us all witness a tremendous shift in the landscape of work. As a matter of fact, I can tell you, having engaged with ministries of education, with universities, public and private, across Middle East and Africa, and in Pakistan, obviously, many of them have started to indicate that they intend to enable their staff, their faculties, their teachers, their students to do a lot more of remote teaching and learning, remote working, even post-COVID. which is a clear indication that the whole landscape is going through, of work is going through a major shift. And we're seeing the gap not only among future predictions or labor market economists looking forward a few years, but gaps in skill sets and technology requirements are clear and real in today's global marketplace. You can see some of the findings here shared by LinkedIn back in 2018, which are still obviously very relevant. Those were shared by the CEO of LinkedIn back then, Jeff Weiner, uh, as he appeared in one of the interviews with CNBC. The data looks very pretty similar months over months. There is tremendous gap and skill set scarcity for communication skills, verbal and written, and infused by technology. Even an area like digital literacy is critical across the many different industry sectors. And then the greatest gap is showing for the deep technical skills surrounding areas such as software development, computer science, areas relating to cybersecurity that's showing up in demand. And some of those findings, I mean, that are quite alarming is when we look at a market like the US alone, which is short of 450,000 professionals with software development skills. Um, at Microsoft, we developed a whole suite of tools and programs to support the journey of a student, being from primary education to secondary education up to higher education. And while we're looking while we're looking at this journey, we have to keep in mind that there's a lot of effort that was put behind those different um, journey milestones in terms of what is relevant for a student in primary education versus what's relevant in higher education. What we managed to develop for primary education is very much focus on sparking curiosity of our students in the STEM area: science, technology, engineering, math. And some of you might add the A to it, which brings it to STEAM and brings the element of arts into it. And this is where we introduce students to the basics and the very fundamental notions of coding, which is obviously becoming more and more crucial to all of us. Um, this is where we also start introducing students to Minecraft, as you can see here in the slides. And Minecraft, as a game-based learning platform, gives the opportunity for students to be more creative, to spark their curiosity. And then we move to starting to engage students in secondary education around how to be better proficient in using productivity tools like Microsoft Office Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, and so on. But it's also about how do we support them get trained and certified on the fundamentals of computer science. And this is where we introduce some curriculum relating to Python, up to the level where when we get to university, we want to get our students as much as possible hands-on with cloud services, with Microsoft Azure, obviously, as our cloud platform, but also with GitHubs. And I'm sure many of you have heard about GitHubs and the partnership with Microsoft. GitHubs is the opportunity where developers go to collaborate around codes. The ultimate goal as we get to the higher education level is to empower students and equip them with the technical skills that they need from a cloud perspective, from artificial intelligence, data science, along with the possibility of getting industry certified. So how students can graduate with a bachelor degree or a diploma from a university or a vocational institution, but also get a Microsoft globally recognized certification, which will obviously increase his or her chances to be better employable. In terms of skills, and again, I go back to the roadmap and leading from primary education to higher education, there are skills that are needed across the board, being communication, collaboration, critical thinking, and so on. And you can see that obviously in the slide. But beyond that, when it comes to primary education, we can start with the basics of the basics, which is what we call digital literacy. And what you see here is a skill associated with a curriculum that was developed by Microsoft, taking students through digital literacy basic curriculum, moving on to block-based programming. Then we start looking at how do we infuse the notion of productivity for our students from primary to secondary education. We start introducing them to the fundamentals of computer science, to ethics and data concepts, programming and design thinking. And then as we get closer to the higher education institution or universities, this is where we start focusing on what we call industry role-based skills. And that's where the focus is going to be increased around data and AI, the areas relating to data and AI, or related to infrastructure, or related to development, to modern productivity, to business applications. And if we are to translate those skills into how a future ready students can be well prepared, this is where I'm sharing a clear portfolio of the different tools and resources that we offer, being in the format of curriculum that has been developed by our Microsoft education and learning team. And it goes through different programs that are available for you at the level of a school or a university to adopt. As example, Microsoft Imagine Academy has been a program established for more than 15 years, giving access to students in primary, secondary, and higher education to get access to Microsoft official curriculum, but also an opportunity for us to help your teachers and faculty member get the right professional development in using Microsoft technologies and products, leading to different types of industry certifications, but also giving the opportunity for students to use our cloud platform, Azure, by allowing them to have access to a number of free credits, leveraging different scenarios for hands-on learnings. I think the next slide would summarize kind of those resources in a perspective where, to simplify, as an academic institution, as a starting point, the Microsoft Imagine Academy gives you the opportunity at a primary and secondary education to have access to the different learning pathways, being in the area of Microsoft Office specialist, or being the area in terms of technology fundamentals. How can you get access to the educator materials and the student materials that will help you deliver the course part of your school and part of your university? So we start by providing access to the Microsoft Imagine Academy, which is now available for free for all of you as schools and universities. So you get access to the full curriculum for free. And moving on from Imagine Academy, this is where we get you the opportunity to start looking into online platforms that we have built, like Microsoft Learn. Microsoft Learn gives you the opportunity to have students do their own self-paced learning around data science or AI, or even beyond that, going into more advanced technical certifications. We want to make sure that we also help students get equipped with the hands-on learning, the experiential, and hence why we provide access to Azure in education and allowing the dev tools available for teachers or professors, but also the Azure credits for students to get well prepared. And the ultimate goal is to equip students with all the resources they need from a curriculum perspective, from a hands-on experience perspective, so they are prepared to sit for the Microsoft certification. This is just a snap of the Microsoft Learn, which is an online platform publicly available, and you can refer to the link that I'm sharing here. There's a section specifically for students and for teachers, being a teacher in school or a professor at university. It provides a free Microsoft official curriculum for students and educators. It's a free interactive way of learning by combining short-term step-by-step tutorials, interactive coding environments, task-based achievements to help your students develop the technical skills they need and earn achievements, as well as Microsoft role-based certifications, whether you are a beginner level or an advanced learner. Again, this is a snapshot of the website, so I highly recommend you to access the Microsoft Learn website and provide access to your students and teachers, professors. One of the interesting partnerships that we've had recently is that we managed to get some higher education institutions that are renowned globally, such as UC Berkeley, Carnegie Mellon University, and others, to also include part of the Microsoft Learn portfolio, a set of courses to help us build the tech skills of our students. So those are available free, and you can access them anytime as part of the Microsoft Learn website. On experiential hands-on learning, as I mentioned previously, Microsoft provides your students with the tools, cloud, and content to prepare for the jobs of the future. And as part of that, there's a specific benefit that we call Azure DevTools for Teaching, which gives the opportunity to your professors and teachers to have free access to some of the development tools so that they can help students showcase their skills. You can also consider applying for, as part of the same notion, to one of the global competitions called Imagine Cup. I'm sure many of you in Pakistan have heard of the competition. Obviously, this is one that I highly encourage students, but primarily from universities, to apply for. They get involved by creating teams within the university and work on specific projects. So exceptional opportunity for students in higher education, in addition to obviously other developer tools that that are made available. From a student perspective, I mean, we obviously need to get kids ready for the cloud by giving them access to hands-on training for building and developing in the cloud. And on that basis, Microsoft has developed a program called Azure for Students, which allows any student to get access to $100 worth of cloud credits so that they can work on different projects using our Microsoft platform. And it's totally free. No need for any credit card. Obviously, as you can see here, the link is mentioned here. And on top of getting the annual credits as a student, you can get as a student access to more than 25 software development tools, part of the same motion. Industry recognized credentials or certifications. I mean, obviously, the nature of employment is changing quickly, and the average tenure is dropping. According to PayScale, the average person currently goes through 12 jobs change during their lifetime. Because of automation, we should anticipate that number to actually more than double over the coming years. Those going down the path of becoming freelancer may have as many as 1,000 different clients. With employment trending towards shorter commitments, employers are far more interested in immediately applicable skills that a prospective worker brings to task than the classwork they've completed or reputation of the school they've attended. For that specific reason, certifications, and not just Microsoft certifications, certifications in general and industry recognized credentials are becoming far quicker and more effective way for hiring managers to gauge a person's competency. And here's a set of, these are the Microsoft certifications that we have released and market for the past couple of years, and we continue to grow. And those are like already on the roadmap. They are already available. Some are subject to improvement and to we take it to the next level. And as you can see, those are segmented into the very basic level here, which is what I mentioned earlier, being referred to as Microsoft Office Specialist and Microsoft Technology Associate as the basics and fundamental certifications. Then we start talking about the three main kind of roadmaps relating to apps, application and infrastructure, data and AI under the umbrella of our Azure cloud, model productivity, as well as business applications, starting with a very fundamental level, Azure fundamental. We can do a data fundamental, AI fundamental. Each of those has a structured curriculum that's available under the Microsoft Learn platform that I mentioned earlier that you can use free. So you have full access to the full curriculum resources, and each one of them is supported by a curriculum as well as by a certification that you can acquire. based on your current agreement or potential agreement with Microsoft. Um, Again, there are different levels going from fundamental to associate to expert level, up to becoming a solution architect. Who I see us currently, being used globally when it comes to certifications in the education space, is more targeting the fundamental level and the associate level at university. And there are multiple institutions across Middle East and Africa and globally that are using and seeing tremendous value out of leveraging the Microsoft Industry certification and the curriculum provided to their students, their teachers, their faculty. And I just wanted at the end to highlight few of those. And I'm sure you would know Higher Education Commission is one of them. We've been for years and years in partnership with the Higher Education Commission supporting universities in Pakistan, where more than 100 institutions were established as testing centers, authorized testing centers, giving the opportunity for students and faculties to sit for the Microsoft exam and acquire the industry certification. More than 200 trainers were trained as master trainers, and more than 63,000 students got certified already over the years in under the umbrella and under the leadership of Higher Education Commission in partnership, obviously, with Microsoft. That's one example from a higher education perspective. Another good example is TEFTA and Pujam colleges, where also multiple testing centers are being set up. Multiple master trainers are, got the professional development they need in order to re-deliver courses part of the school. And as you can see, 25,000 exams, industry exams were consumed and were used by TEFTA to support the student journey that we've been focusing on. And 5,000 students have got the same opportunity partnering under the Punjab Colleges partnership. I would like to end by say that again, we cannot do this alone. We need you part of the journey. We need our partnership, but we are committed. We're fully committed, being in Pakistan as we are globally, to support our students become future ready. We do have, all the programs, tools, and resources that can, I hope, help you achieve your mission as an academic institution, as school leaders, as universities eager to support our students throughout their academic journey or education journey up to reaching a level where they decide to either acquire a job or have their own startup. Thank you again. Thank you so much for your time. It's been a pleasure being part with you in this session today, and looking forward to a very solid collaboration as Microsoft with each and every one of you. Thank you so much, and stay safe.
My name is Majid. I'm part of the Microsoft education team in Middle East and Africa, and I look after our customers in primary and secondary education. Today, I'm going to be talking about hybrid learning and how Microsoft enables this. So first of all, let me start by talking about remote learning. Over the last year, we've seen many of our customers actually consider and implement remote learning. And this was actually a necessity that came out of the situation that the whole world is facing. Moving forward, what we are hearing from a lot of our customers is that they want to look at and implement hybrid learning. And this is not something that is connected to the COVID-19 situation, but it's a longer term plan that they want to continue with. Basically, what we saw is that with COVID-19, there was a lot of investment that was done for remote learning. And all of these investment and this transformation that happened was something that resulted in something that actually can benefit these institutions for the longer term. And so they're looking for ways to leverage that investment and then build on it for the roadmap. And so What are some of the elements of hybrid learning? One of the elements is actually for it to be multimodal and interactive. And another keyword is actually active engagement. And so we want these students to be interactive online. We don't want them to just be like consuming content, carrying a small tablet and just watching. We want these students to be engaged. We want them to interact with other students, with teachers, doing assignments online and producing and creating and solving problems. And so these are elements of hybrid learning. It can be synchronous or asynchronous. So we can have students interacting together with the teacher online, or it could be where the student consumes the content maybe offline. They do the assignment, they submit the assignment at any time. The teacher offline also corrects the assignment, submits it through the system, and then the student gets notified, and then they can see the feedback from the teacher. And so it could be both synchronous, online all the time, or it could be asynchronous, or both. Another thing is that it should be agile enough to include students in all circumstances. Perhaps students have fast internet connectivity where you can do synchronous. Perhaps they have low internet connectivity where asynchronous is the only way. Perhaps they have learning disabilities. And so there's different circumstances. Maybe they are in the classroom, maybe they are learning remotely. So the system should cater for all of this, and definitely it should be planned with a very good infrastructure. A system that works well for 100 or 500 students might not function for 1 million students. A system that works well in a small school might not be the best secure system to use for 1 million or 10 million students. And so all of this has to be taken into consideration. And then for us at Microsoft, this is actually a key important area for us, and it's a special area because not only do we have special offers for education institutions, but we actually build products that are specific for education. We have more than 400 engineers working specifically for education and designing for our education customers. In addition, we have teams locally in the countries and in the region that look after education specifically. We've worked with many customers around the region. One of the customers that we've been working with quite a while is the UAE. So the United Arab Emirates actually started this whole digital transformation a while back, and they were one of the first countries to actually adopt remote learning, mainly because they had started the journey of digital transformation a few years ago. They had devices for teachers and students. They had training for teachers and students. The system was already set up with accounts for everyone. And so when they were faced with this pandemic situation, they actually were one of the first countries that adopted remote learning. Other customers that we worked with, again, Ministry of Education in Qatar and Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is actually probably one of the biggest implementations that we've had. We brought more than 5.5 million students and teachers to be using the system. And the launch happened within 1 week. So within 1 week, we had more than 5 million students and teachers using the platform. Of course, it took 1 or 2 months to do the implementation before the launch. It takes a lot of preparation. Teacher training is a very important aspect of it. But we were able to help out. Other countries that perhaps do not have the capabilities are Lebanon and Jordan. So these countries might not have the access to devices or good connectivity as other countries, but yet we still saw that they chose to implement remote learning, and this was one of the channels that they enabled their students and teachers on. So when we talk to schools and universities, they think about certain elements. First, they think about a single digital hub. We don't want too many tools for students and teachers to be using. We need a single tool that they can go in and then they can access different systems, but the entry should be a single tool. We need readiness. We need readiness for students and teachers, and specifically teachers. There's leader readiness as well. And then, of course, we need good data and insights, because when we roll out such a solution, we need data visibility at the top level, how many students are attending and teachers, all the way down to the classroom level. So the teacher needs to have that view of how is every student performing, what's their engagement level, how are their grades progressing, and if there is a problem, how to address it. And so if you think about some of the scenarios and some of the tasks that the teachers are doing right now in this new world, these are potentially activities that they didn't used to do. So they have to collaborate on files with other teachers. They have to track student progress. Perhaps they create polls or quizzes online that they want the students to do. They're actually posting assignments online rather than writing it on the board or giving out the assignment on printed paper. They host virtual classes and maybe actually do recordings. And so this is also a new skill that they have to pick up. They schedule meetings and online classes. And then, of course, they chat to their peers, they chat to students, they help out. And so there's a lot of activities that teachers are doing now that they didn't used to do. And putting everything into a single tool is actually very powerful. And this is where teams really came in. When we built teams, we actually considered education. As I mentioned, we have engineers looking after education. And so this scenario was built into the product from inception. And if you've used Teams, you will see that it's a product that is continuously improving. So we are getting feedback from our customers. We work that feedback in, and then we do regular updates to the product. And so, for example, before we could only see 4 screens, and now we can see a 7x7. And this is also based on feedback from our teachers saying that I want to see the whole class. This concept of together mode, where students are sitting in a stadium type of environment, this actually helps alleviate what we call meeting fatigue. And this is where you start seeing interesting interaction with students high-fiving each other virtually on screen. We actually offer Teams for free for education institutions, and it's part of a bigger platform. But basically, a lot of the features that we have in Teams, especially assignments and so on, are actually free for education institutions. Other capabilities are things like doing live events, for example. And this is part of the bigger platform. And this allows, for example, one teacher to be doing a session and then up to 20,000 students joining that session. And then that session can be recorded and made available for more students. We have integration with learning management systems. Security is built into the product. And so you can deploy this to millions of students, and you can actually work in student security and safety into your plans. So what are some of the capabilities of Microsoft Teams, and why are millions of students using it worldwide? First of all, it creates that collaborative classroom. So students and teachers can interact with each other. They can do online classes. Students can send messages to the teachers, ask questions. They can interact with other students if the institution enables that. And so it creates that collaborative classroom. We have the assignments. And so the teacher can actually create assignments, send them to students. Students submit their assignment, teachers correct it. They send timely feedback. And so the student gets the feedback as soon as that teacher submits it in the system. And so now the students have the ability to see what they've done wrong and then correct it before the next lesson that builds on those concepts. And then most importantly in here is that we have insights.